What is a normie? As far as internet science has been able to discern, everything that has happened, and will ever happen, was determined by the arrangement of particles when time started at the Big Bang. Those particles bounced around in a particular way, which made the galaxies, then stars, then more fertile stars, then planets. Then, on those planets, we saw the rise of two distinct creatures known as normies and main characters, from which later subclasses such as war crime profiteer and League of Legends player were born. Which brings us to now, with me meticulously dragging a video into existence for you to watch on your magic box over a globe wire. Hello. I am a bundle of particles trying to convince itself that they are one consistent whole. And today, we will be exploring popular conceptions of normal people, and what can be done about them. There are many potential definitions. Among early internet culture, you had the idea of a person too well off and socially functional to need to trawl through the all-consuming muck of dark and edgy content on the internet, who just doesn't understand the crushing guilt and banality of existence like we do, and doesn't get our hilarious racist and sexist jokes.
Normies, get out!
Nowadays, everyone has a phone, and internet madness is no longer just the purview of incels and failed children. So where does that leave this definition of a normie? There's also the concept of normie as the other. You're a normie to furries if you aren't a furry, to gays if you aren't gay. To highly online nerds, you're a normie if you have a job, and go to parties, and touch grass and stuff. This can stem from the idea of yourself, or your in-group, as more conscious and questioning of society, whereas everyone else are labeled mindless and cruel, because they didn't understand you, and persecuted your group.
Look at these people. Glassy-eyed automatons going about their daily lives, never stopping to look around and think. I'm the only conscious human in a world of sheep.
Then there is the political normie. Someone whose political views are just a reaction to whoever made them uncomfortable this week, rather than a complex consideration of all the facts and arguments for every position. Among right-wing philosophy, you have the idea of NPCs, programmed by the liberal media, to shout down their opponents with corporate slogans about current thing, and saying you should know better because it is current year. Which is kind of ironic because conservative media does its own version of this, with similar kinds of in-group thinking and virtue signaling.
Hey left tits, can you count the genders? Well, you should be done counting by now, because theirs are only 2.
When you troll a libtard epic style.
The NPC, or non-player character, is a reference to scripted video game characters. And in this conception, the reference is being made to portray liberals as having no real arguments, relying on emotional group thinking and shaming tactics to compensate for their total lack of substance. This idea seems to help assure some people that progress types are just a mindless emotional Borg that cannot and should not be reasoned with. There are more non-political forms of this meme as well. The NPC meme, in particular, has taken on a life of its own, with people recreating the stilted regimented behavior of NPCs in real life.
Don't entertain this madness. We trying to truly help our son.
Thank you for the cap off!
No, listen to us. He's talking to you, Tej.
Quadruple glizzy!
Is he high or what's wrong with him?
Have you heard of the High Elves?
Or implying that someone's behavior is so basic and absurd as to be reminiscent of NPCs.
Bruh, I be trying to tell niggas we live in a video game world, bruh. Half of these niggas ain't even real people, bruh. Watch this. You know that, though. That can't be a real nigga. That nigga is clearly a Grand Theft Auto created character. He look like he'll get hit by a car and get back up and continue to walk.
Sometimes, the joke is at the expense of autistic people.
Well, Alice, it seems we both got autism, haven't we?
Yeah.
Well, that's good to know.
Other times the joke is making fun of conformity or thoughtless group behavior.
Welcome to my abode, everybody. Welcome. Just a little speech if you guys don't mind.
Sometimes the work takes on a seemingly satirical character, making fun of people who see others as NPCs.
Bonjour. Bonjour. What the
Showers are for NPCs. Hey Kane, what do you do today? Video games? I love video games. Who do you play with? Eric? I'm supposed to be your Discord daddy, not him.
Sometimes the joke is just unironically dehumanizing someone, or treating everyone else as if they are lesser than you.
Why did you leave me?
I'm gonna have to ask you to stop that. Really, we can't have it. I mean, I'm just trying to get a little bit of change, you know what I mean? I don't really know about all that. All right, but it's a little bit, you know, maybe that's for another time. Maybe not, maybe after tomorrow.
Please, not while I'm driving, man. Do this at your own.
Oh, fuck!
You dumbass! Why would you do that? Why would you do that?
So perhaps a normie is someone who couldn't pass the Turing test, who, like a video game character, is a bundle of detached phrasings, and shows no signs of a recognizable mind within.
Can I help you?
Call the judge and get some fudge.
Call the judge and get some fudge? Are you okay?
Nope.
No?
You a doctor?
Maybe.
Well, where's your MD?
My dick.
Your DM.
You trying to slide in the DMs? You trying to slide?
Pardon?
You trying to slide in the DMs?
What the fuck are you talking about?
You know, Twitter.
Yep.
Another potential definition concerns basic people, those who conform to a certain archetype of trends, and have no original aspirations. One prominent element were starter pack memes. Media presenting an assortment of items oddly reminiscent of specific people you've met. In this view, everyone is probably basic to somebody, so it isn't a good definition. There is a common theme here, of a kind of hipsterism, the notion that something is better because it is unique or new, and all the elitism of avoiding the mainstream associated with that. What is mainstream at any given time is a fluid, ever-changing notion. As culture shifts, corporations respond to trends, and what was once subversive becomes co-opted. As with most memes, they might be made with a sense of sarcasm, ironic detachment, or they might be sincere expressions of how someone actually sees the world. Alternatively, they might deploy irony to express sincere beliefs, or be indiscernible in their intent entirely. Only one thing can be known for sure. Our species will not survive the coming winter.
I did a push-up today. Well, actually, I started a proxy war in sub-Saharan Africa so I could sell weapons to both sides and make a profit. Close enough. Now I need chocolate.
Perhaps there is yet another hidden definition to be found in left philosophy. The idea of the privileged societal element, usually the archetypal white cisgender straight man, who hasn't yet grown out of the childish illusion of a world made for him, a world of order, fairness and justice for all, and hasn't yet reckoned with the legacy of colonial violence and third world slavery that brings us here. So perhaps a normie is someone who is emotionally aligned with their view, has few critical thinking skills, and lacks good reason to believe what they do, but doesn't care. While I don't think we should call anyone a normie, I think the act speaks to a kind of immature, insecure, self-importance. If there must be a definition for our modern setting, it could be people who accept the reality with which they are presented, who cannot see the path laid out for them, never mind defy it, who cannot see beyond themselves, or be more than the events of their life made them. Those who choose to adjust themselves to an anti-human world rather than to rebel.
These paintings were drawn by the old man with the walking stick. As you can see, the erratic streaks represent the neurons in his brain that led him to commit acts of violence. He was an unorthodox artist and a talented fighter.
Why do normies exist?
Now please, hear what I hear.
As jelly-brained apes, we are only capable of perceiving our own immediate experience of reality with any urgency, so we form an incomplete conception of the objective state of the world around us, based mostly on our personal experiences, which, for many apes in the NATO Empire, is a fantasy, where everything is mostly fine, or probably will be soon, where making any changes isn't worthwhile, because they're unable to see beyond the relatively safe and wealthy position they occupy in the global hierarchy, thanks to all the cheap resources and labor power coercively extracted from so-called developing countries, held underfoot in an arrangement of near slavery, for the crime of not having colonized the world first.
The prophecy is true.
On the societal level, some apes become richer than others, because the structure of property laws allows them to legally steal the labor value from workers, or steal half the paycheck from renters, and they use that wealth to influence society, to transform common culture into a monument to their warped self-centered thinking, and to integrate with systems of power, where decisions are made on how to maintain this arrangement, through the deployment of police and military, and a dense layering of bureaucracy and legalese, designed to make any political progress near impossible. On the individual level, young apes grow up surrounded by this dysfunction. Having known nothing different, they acclimate and start to see all the violence and injustice around them as normal. Then, they are sent to institutions of schooling, where any unique, critical, or rebellious tendencies are rooted out of them, as they are prepared for an unquestioning life as a worker, renter, and data point in a government computer. Then they will join a workplace, each run like a mini dictatorship, where they will be conditioned to work for the financial benefit of those exploiting them, on the promise of one day being the exploiter. News media is largely the voice of such exploiters and their corporate sponsors, filtered through government censorship.
And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
And reflects a perspective completely detached from the lives of normal working people, leaving so many without a coherent understanding of what is going on, and who their real enemy is. Despite this, news media seems to carry an air of objectivity to many who rarely question the things they are being told.
Me, sipping from a mushy straw to help save the environment.
Billionaires.
On the global level, the richest nations fund massive militaries to protect this stolen wealth, and to coerce poorer nations into accepting a subordinate position under them. Leaders who accept this subordinate position are rewarded by foreign elites, while their people suffer the shame of near slavery. These countries essentially act as cheap production factories for richer nations, and sell off their precious resources at a premium, enriching a small property-owning class in the country, while leading to conditions of repression and deprival for everyday people. This artificially maintained poverty in these countries leads to mass ignorance and a stunting of natural social progress, leaving the women, children, and LGBTQ+ peoples of those countries subjugated, a phenomenon which is then singularly blamed on the supposedly inherently backwards nature of the local peoples. Even in the case that some lucky person is able to immigrate to an exploiter nation, they will meet a condemning attitude of a people concerned with keeping their exorbitant lifestyles for people like themselves. They will struggle, doing the menial jobs the privileged don't want to do, while their communities are discriminated against and tend towards a crime manifesting poverty, which leads to over-policing and demonization. The population of rich nations is kept ignorant and permissive to this, because information is suppressed, and they live relatively well, thanks to this invisibilized foreign extraction. The sad reality of this arrangement is obscured by an ideology of free market liberation, in which it is said that anyone can make it if they try, and all the poor just aren't trying hard enough yet.
We're committed to defending democracy and protecting human rights.
We will violate your sovereignty, collapse your economy, and destabilize your entire society if you do not play by our rules.
This ideology individualizes the dysfunction of the existing order onto workers, who feel personal shame and confusion at their discontent in this system, and blame themselves. While this arrangement is evil on its face, part of how it survives is that it does seem to meet some of the needs of the world population.
Your generation has destroyed the planet.
How do I open camera?
Unfortunately, all of that profit-driven production comes at a cost of periodic economic depressions, wars of competition for resources, pollution, and worsening climate change. Hundreds of millions live in poverty and homelessness, many die every day from deprival, many are skipping meals, a paycheck away from losing everything.
Damn, I'm kinda tired of living inside a giant pyramid scheme controlled by criminals who gaslight us into believing they're the good guys.
The apes who wake up to what is happening and oppose it publicly are suppressed or even sometimes killed by the unconscious army raised by those at the top. This plays out in a common process. First, riot police brutalize and arrest peaceful protesters.
Hands up, don't shoot! Hands up!
Until people become so desperate as to damage property and disrupt society. Then they are brutalized further, as property and productivity are treated as more valuable than human life. Then, when the people finally elect a regime that disrupts the global order in the slightest, the regime is either 1. Starved with sanctions, a process of freezing foreign bank accounts and denying trade to a country until the local people suffer enough to dismantle the regime. 2. Starved with trade embargoes, a process by which a country is isolated from world trade by the threat that more wealthy nations will not trade with others if they do business with that country. 3. Coup by intelligence agencies, a process of using propaganda, subterfuge and force to overthrow an existing regime, and replace them with one more favorable to the wealthier nations. 4. Or, as in the case of countries like Korea and Vietnam, occupied and attacked in open war, an attempt to destroy any alternatives to the capitalist system, and send a message to others considering resistance. Some of these countries end up winning, but are so structurally and economically crippled after the war, that they are forced, at threat of starvation, to moderate their politics and allow some form of capitalism, as well as take on debts in the form of exploitative loans, by agreement to surrender attempts at building a more radical society. However, even in the rare instances where revolutions succeeded, such as in Marxist-Leninist Russia and China, they suppressed and killed their anarchists and ultra-leftists, those who pushed for more than an economy planned by intellectuals, for the realization of a decentralized democratic socialism led from below by the masses. Apartheid, slavery, and colonialism were legal. Legality is a construct of the powerful, not of justice.
What if I told you? Babies be walking around with the same potato chip in their hand for like 5 hours.
And so, here we are, a species whose education produces a painful awareness of our own predicament, without enough power or consensus to prevent the dumb self-defeating maintenance of this arrangement anyways, living in the wake of a number of prominent failures to do so. There are the people we have to become, to survive the coming collapse. And then there are the people we have become, living in the blinding fog of what we perceive as peaceful, normal, comfortable lives, in highly contingent regimes built on unseen violence elsewhere. If you're a normie, and you've somehow ended up on this video, apologies. This video wasn't meant for you. This is a guide for your crazy leftist friends so they can brainwash you easier. Stick around if you want, but wouldn't you rather be watching these handsome gentlemen drop a giant dart onto stuff from way high up? The experience of living as an even moderately conscious person in our dystopian world order is not just a dangerous one, as we constantly face state repression and violence. It's also an absurd kind of hell, where you are forced to have the same checklist conversations, over and over again, with a bunch of NPCs, whose entire view of the world is an unquestioning mishmash of state propaganda and emotionally resonant platitudes, who unironically say things like, "I don't care about politics. Have you watched the new Joe Rogan podcast?" Or, "League of Legends is a good game." I swear to you, revolutionary love and compassion is the core of my politics. I'm just tired.
It's called posterity, you dipshit! You fucking loser!
The process of reforming people from this mindset is very annoying and tedious. Most people have little self-awareness, nor principled reason for their beliefs. And their views are just a literal translation of how much money and property they or their parents have, and whatever beliefs are convenient for rationalizing their lifestyle, up until that point.
Now kids, if you can't say something that reinforces my paper-thin understanding of the world around me, then don't say anything at all. I love my daughter in the most archaic way possible. My main objective is to protect her virginity to keep up her blue book value for when it's time to give her away to a man who makes enough money to put me in a good home when I'm elderly.
I love Elsa and Olaf.
3 + 6 is 9. But so does 4 + 5. The way you do things isn't the only way to do them. Respect other people's way of thinking. Agree?
Look, Marx has been disproven, proven. Real socialism is rich people being nice. Revolution is illegal. Don't make fun of my hot husband.
I don't want my son breathly looking at any potatoes. He will get cancer.
Trying to have a critically minded conversation with someone like this can be like trying to talk to a robot who has been programmed with a wrong response to everything you'll say. You can be the most kind, patient, articulate person they've ever met. And still, if you don't look normal, attractive, healthy, or wealthy enough, if you're even slightly socially different, or dare have an emotion and react negatively to their mindless defense of war crimes they know nothing about, you can expect to be routinely mistreated by the people you're trying to help, to take on the burdens they're refusing to process. Overall, the odds are stacked against you, because our educational institutions are pumping out millions of mindless drones who only learn so they can get good grades, who can't think for themselves, who can't imagine a world outside their personal experience, who don't question the societal structures around them, who can't organize without getting permission, and saddest of all, who are emotionally stunted and traumatized from being forced into accepting a deeply antisocial, alienating, oppressive societal order that is incompatible with human nature.
400 BC, Socrates. 1700, Newton. 1930, Einstein's. Today, people photo themselves. Everyone's stupid now.
I suffer. Why shouldn't they?
I suffered, and I'll do my best to help people because of it.
That last bit is important to emphasize. Normies, in this sense, are the inevitable product of the structure of the existing system. It is what has created them in all their ignorance and personality. Narratives of personal responsibility and choice are distracting to the cause of reforming them, because these are simply the product of irrational apish emotions, a kind of thinking that says, they hurt me because they are terrible people, rather than acknowledging the complex web of non-malicious reasons that many people are this way. Succeeding in reforming normies requires precisely the bypass of such base impulses. Emotional hurt should be channeled into a reasoned and compassionate assessment of the situation from outside yourself. It is important to recognize their actions as a product of our society, to develop an effective approach to changing them. None of this is any one person's fault. Our society is fundamentally broken, and we're all victims of it and its broken effects. This is why it's important to focus on the practical and compassionate possibilities afforded to us in our particular situation, and to keep in mind the sacrifice we are asking these people to make. It is hard to capture precisely what this reformation process looks like in words. It's something you'll have to try and experience for yourself. So, here's my advice on talking to normies. First of all, this work is emotionally exhausting, and at times devastating. Remember, you can't pour from an empty cup. It's fine to focus on yourself and your own healing. Every routine task that keeps you alive and well is part of this work too.
How to identify a toxic person?
Life is a gift. All good things come to those who wait. Everything will be fine. You can be anything you want to be. We have to love each other. We can learn from mistakes.
Regular person?
The man looks at the abyss, but does not feel uncomfortable, because the deepest abyss is shallow compared to what lurks in the hearts of men.
Things can go wrong in these conversations. Make sure you have the ability to exist separate from this person. Most people don't care what a stranger thinks. They decide their morals largely on the perceived consensus among people they know. You'll have better luck with someone in a similar social group. Often, people will only listen to others like them. The most oppressed peoples can have a harder time being heard, so it's up to allies to uplift their voices. Focus most of your efforts on proletarians, working people without business or rental property, whose conditions of life motivate them. Others are far less likely to meaningfully change. Do not start with abusive family members. They don't see you, they aren't listening, and they know your weak points. Heal from your wounds first. Become a person again. I'm sorry if you have family you've never been able to rely on. Please do not give the gift of your presence and effort to those who have always mistreated you. Do not invest too much time on people who seem immune to basic reason and accountability, or who dismiss you as crazy, immature, or naive. Not only do you deserve better, such a person is unlikely to change through individual discussion, and your efforts would be better spent elsewhere. Excluding the pathological, most people mean well and can change. It's just difficult to accept the truth. This video does not cover workplace or tenant organizing, but if you are organizing people, it is best to avoid big picture politics at first, and to instead focus on the immediate issue at hand, with a sense of immediate benefit and justice. Many people you organize will be somewhat ignorant or apathetic, seeing politics as something personal or stressful. The point of organizing is to win gains, and to show people their collective power. Once it creates success, you have a platform and camaraderie for more radical politics. Take time to observe the consensus in your group, slow down to evolve alongside them. The struggle will change you all. Going forward, this video concerns mostly personal political advocacy and conversion. Approach people with an empathy for the fact that nobody asked to be born, chose their life circumstances, and we're all just stumbling through life blindly. Come from a place of forgiveness, love and compassion, even if they don't deserve it. When trying to change someone on an interpersonal level, nothing else works, unfortunately. This doesn't mean mindlessly forgiving or excusing them. It means projecting a healing energy, and building a space that encourages curiosity and change. Be vulnerable, but not in the way that you blame others or put all your feelings on them. This work is educational, but nobody likes to be spoken down to. You may not be equals in intellect or understanding, but you are equals as people. In the end, all we have is each other. Be a model of the kind of person you would have listened to. Kind, honest, confident and respectful. That we are talking, rather than fighting, shows that neither side feels empowered enough to fight, so there's little point in antagonizing them. We want many allies and sympathizers on our side for when things get to that point. Try to remember that, in their mind, all of their ignorance makes sense. They've lived a different life than you. They're going to need new information and experiences to change. Many of the people you will be dealing with will have had unfavorable encounters with radicals in the past, and hold the typical views of their society.
Communism killed everyone on the planet. By it, Goku got all the Dragon Balls and brought them back.
From their point of view, they don't understand you at all, and that distance will need to be closed before any serious change can happen. The primary condition of a society like ours is isolation, loneliness, and alienation. A lot of people feel unheard and uncared for. You might be surprised how much mileage you get out of simply asking questions and showing curiosity about someone. In speaking their answers, they self-actualize by converting what were once only vague feelings swirling around in their head into tangible, examinable sentiments.
Wode, I know you do thinks about why we are being toys and boys. I am a hat as well. What is life but just have a listen here, old cowboy, because we are perhaps being the... And also there is the... I'm also thinking that there is as well... Brendan, I don't have health insurance. Common cold could potentially end my life. What's your last name? Small? You know, Brendan, you have the same initials as Bernie Sanders. You a communist, Brendan? I think I am. Now.
By listening to them, you buy yourself goodwill to respond with challenging ideas. Eventually, when they see that you have something to offer, they will be asking you questions. Use simpler language earlier on. It is key not to attack them for their understandable ignorances, but to show them a better way.
Leftist be like? No, I'm not an anarcho-pee-pee-poo-pooist. I'm a cringe I'm not an anarcho-pee-pee-poo-pooist. I'm a cringe nene-Leninist, you fucking idiot. You don't own an annotated and signed copy of Capital? You utter imbecile. You unlearned cretin.
You don't need to read theory to be a communist, Brendan. Theory is just a bunch of words some guy wrote once. Anyone can read words. Communism is like soccer. It's all about the practice.
Change in people is a sort of abstract process. Nobody changes on the spot. Take it one step at a time and focus on what you have in common. You don't want to alienate them by seeming too different from them. Give them the occasional light-hearted prod leftwards, then give them time to think and shift their thinking. This process could take months, or it could take years. You never know. Oftentimes, people's subjectively understandable reaction to hearing the truth will be to reject and mistreat you. But do try to remember that they are victims too. This reaction can indicate a person trying to convince themselves you're not worth listening to. Sometimes you won't be the person to make the final brick fall. Accountability initially feels like abuse to those who are used to getting away with things. Because we live in a highly abusive society, in which crimes are categorically punished with horrific institutions like prison, people who've lived badly fear retribution and condemnation. To counter this, we must have a radical understanding for past mistakes. Anything anybody has ever done throughout history made sense to them from their perspective. We have to make it stop making sense to them, which is difficult to do, as it means confronting one's own failings and guilt. Unfortunately, in this world, it often hurts to do the right thing, which is unintuitive and confusing. So we must change our thinking to accept this, and find the joys that can be found in living in service to others. Keep a healthy distance between the harmful sentiments behind their words and your well-being. Know that it is never your fault when someone is being abusive to you, but it will happen in this process. Make sure you have regular time with loved ones and hobbies to recharge yourself after these encounters. Accept that you cannot save everyone. See challenges as expected and necessary. The path to success is learning from many failures. You can't force change. You can only be a conduit for change in those who are ready. Remember, this process is a form of self-actualization for yourself as well. It will change you in ways you never could have imagined. Accept that your influence is limited. There is a whole world pulling them in the other direction. Expect some backsliding as they try to reconcile their newfound knowledge with the norms around them. Progress is not a linear path here. Stay positive and believe in the process. Don't make this your whole personality. Be a person first, and a radical second. Realize that most people's beliefs are based on subconscious feelings and inclinations they're not aware of. Don't assume that they're self-aware about all the implications of their views. Most people are just parroting things they've heard that sound right. For the more logical person, make it clear that your beliefs are based in a consideration of the evidence, and that you'd change them if you were proven wrong, as you have done many times in the past.
I'm so ruthlessly committed to dialectics that I'm constantly at war with the person I was 2 days ago, who is a clown and a coward.
Invite them to share counter-evidence if they'd be willing to examine it with you. Yes, it is annoying that some people treat debating ideas as some fun sport. Meanwhile, the world remains in dysfunction by their collective negligence of truth. But do try to have patience. Be humble in acknowledging the limitations of your own understanding, and affirm the value in owning one's ignorances. Sometimes people will share a bogus article with misleading or inaccurate information that they haven't read to lazily dismiss you. Sometimes they will make a vague appeal that people with your views are immature and simply haven't grown up, and that a better society simply isn't realistic. These tactics can be very annoying, as they are clearly just the person trying not to think. But it makes sense. If awareness hurts, people initially avoid it. The worst part about this is that it takes twice the effort to refute such nonsense than it does to just throw it in someone's face. I have nothing to offer you except my condolences. For some people, you may have better luck moving the discussion to a place of expressing feelings and addressing emotions.
Next time I get angry, instead of violently lashing out, I will write my feelings down on a sheet of paper.
Insist that their continued support for this system is hurting others, including you. Appeal to the social and community-focused nature of our movement. Help them imagine a place for their unique skills and interests in a radical movement. Legitimize their fears of not being able to make a difference, but appeal to historical example of working people organizing and achieving things. Try not to seem too extreme at first. It's only when people truly understand our situation that they acquiesce to the necessity of radical methods. For those who object to our more extreme methods, show a truthful regret for the things that must be done, but appeal to the state of things, and to recent history as a sobering example. Knowledge of human psychology can help here. Many people tend towards whatever belief, right or wrong, that will give them emotional peace. It takes an especially strategic influence to disrupt this, often an intervention from many people in this person's life. Just like you, these people are living in a highly oppressive and abusive society. Keep in mind that they are carrying many complex traumas. Many of them will react to you as if you think similarly to their abusive parents, partner, or boss. They will expect the same maliciousness in you, and you should know that if you succeed in this endeavor, you will be taken as an example of someone who actually cares about them.
You're about to catch these hands. I'll be there. Thank you. If you fall, I will pick you up. I love you and care for you deeply.
This is where I watched my parents die, Raphael.
Stop trauma dumping?
It may turn out to be the case that this person has said and done some really awful stuff in the past. In order for them to be better, they need your help to see the path to redemption, in genuinely confronting themselves and their past, and healing their own wounds. Acknowledge that this is your path too, that you are a work in progress. It may feel that you are simply asking them to recognize the obvious reality, and in some sense, yes, you are. But more importantly, in those specific moments of confrontation between the two of you, the subjective being that is you, is asking them to accept the necessity of a series of future actions where they may become victims of an abstract enemy. You are not simply asking them to acknowledge the facts of the matter, but asking them to re-evaluate everything they thought they knew, to question all their relationships, to reshape the way they think, and the way they live their life. You will be constantly fighting to keep them from retreating to comforting illusions, to get them over that bump of accepting that there is no reformist liberal solution to our problem, that we do not have much time.
Get a job, stay hydrated, become poly, go child-free, follow trends, be quirky, don't eat silica packets, watch Bosch, pet that heckin' doggo, cancel culture. Now repeat after me. I'm free.
Bringing someone to self-awareness is, in a sense, a rather violent event. If you are effective, your actions are obliterating this person's previous sense of self. You are more or less transforming them from a more base being into someone who can meet the challenges required of them. Remember, you are as much a product of your life experiences as anyone else. You are trapped in this scenario with all of us. You may be smart or informed, but you are also like a frightened animal who has finally looked around and noticed the slaughterhouse implements, which have been around you your whole life. You are not the first to notice, so regard the wisdom of those who have lived with this realization the longest. In a scenario as damnable as this, there is no hope of escape without the combined strength of your fellow animals. If you act out of fear and desperation, if you act alone or too loudly, the slaughterhouse owners might put you down before you can achieve anything. If through this process, they show themselves repeatedly resistant to basic responsibility or accountability, try with someone else. Someone who cannot face up to the reality of their past cannot move forward. It's worth saying, don't easily trust anyone who used to be involved in law enforcement or the military, unless they can demonstrate themselves to be fully, self-consciously reformed. If you mess up, maybe you lose your temper, or say something counterproductive, apologize, and forgive yourself. You should listen to what your body is trying to tell you. Take a step back from the conversation if you're too upset, and give yourself space to recover from the damage. You are not a machine that produces socialism. Your feelings in this process matter too. For a person to recover from the realization of these truths, and come out the other side a coherent socialist, they will need support to make it through the required self-examination, grieving and recovery, all of which may manifest in temporarily increased anxiety, depression, agoraphobia, and susceptibility to addiction.
As of lately, I'm so exhausted, I'm feeling angry, I'm feeling nauseous. What am I doing? I'm losing focus. As I lay here, I'm barely conscious. As of lately, I'm so exhausted, I'm feeling angry, I'm feeling nauseous. What am I doing? I'm losing focus. As I lay here, I'm barely conscious.
I don't want to be horny anymore. I want to be happy.
For this reason, conversion work is always inherently personal, emotional, and deeply affecting. Those lacking emotional intelligence and social skills should consider helping in other ways, as mistakes can be costly here.
Please don't kill yourself. That's weird.
In your journey to convince someone, they will likely go through various stages of grieving. Denial. A healthy person cannot hide from a soft-spoken truth for long. It eats at them from the inside. The following stages represent a person growing the healthy emotional range needed to cope with reality. Anger. The truth has affected them, and it hurts. But they lack the skills to recognize or regulate their emotions. So they spill over, and they end up attacking and blaming others. Don't fall for the angry face. Inside, they are in pain, and yearn for relief. Though, in this state, they are accidentally pushing help away. Bargaining. People at this stage are vulnerable to fall into reactionary ideologies. Unable or unwilling to face the full reality, they retreat into comforting illusions, such as the idea that progress is passive and inevitable, or that we can fix the problem with minor policy adjustments. Sometimes they will mistake institutions for people and advocate appealing to the conscience of the powerful. Rarely, they might double down on more racist or fascist ideologies for a time. Don't be lulled into complacence by the promise of socialism from above. The government, the military, and police are nothing but an officialized mafia meant to preserve existing inequalities and injustice through violence and control of information. Those who benefit from exploitation will never surrender willingly. It's easy to see that when you study history. Liberals will weaponize fascist militarism to stomp out resistors before they ever accept an egalitarian society, because they actually think it's good when rich people have more power than poor people.
Bruh, did you just say you paid your taxes? You're out the rich people club effective immediately. Please turn in your money and get off the pedophile island.
To them, we are a stupid, worthless mob that must be guided from above, must be channeled towards their ends. People take refuge in these ideologies to assuage feelings of helplessness and cope with a disordered world. Ideology represents the imaginary relationship of individuals to their real conditions of existence. Richer people have more to lose from progress, and as such, are more likely to fall into such ideologies. Leave a positive impression. All you can hope is that you've been clear enough that one day they might see the light. A careful debunking of communist myths can help some people. Depression and guilt. They have gotten over the anger that was clouding their judgment and now have no choice but to sit with the reality. Anger gives way to its true underlying face, sadness. They will now grieve the loss of the life they thought they had. This period is often marked by an overbearing sense of guilt related to past harms. They might isolate themselves or apologize a lot. They may retreat into anything that will make them feel something. They may become overly self-focused for a while, as they have a lot of work to do on themselves. During this stage, they will struggle, and this is where they will need the help of their community the most. We are all at different stages in our lives, and some of us need more care than others. They may feel as if they have lost their meaning or purpose in life. They may become disillusioned with the life they built and feel hopeless. They may feel an unrealistic responsibility to fix the world on their own. They may find it hard to be present in the moment, lost in reflection on future conflict or loss. This is usually the stage where you will get surprisingly emotional apologies from them for their previous behavior. Forgiving them can help solidify their acceptance. These problems arise because they haven't yet made peace with the reality, or themselves, and because they must learn to ground themselves in their own life again after contemplating the eternal. They have to come to embrace the new meaning this path is providing them. Tell them that these feelings won't last forever, that they are on an emotional and spiritual journey of healing, that the only way out is through, and that they should listen to what their body is telling them. You can help a person in this stage by drawing their focus away from harmful thought loops and self-defeating notions, towards the meaning and happiness that can, and must be found, in our daily life. Communicate to them that meaning is found in the moment-to-moment interactions we have, the people whose company we keep, and the decisions we make. There is nothing more meaningful than our own lives, that is why we must be present with them. Every small act of patience, kindness, and bravery matters. Our society is the manifestation of our collective knowledge and actions. Every storm begins with a raindrop. Try to be that raindrop. Acceptance. They have finally accepted the reality, and are now finding happiness, by doing what they can. They have oriented their life towards uplifting, and life-affirming activities. They may still struggle occasionally, but now they have a new healthy emotional range, that allows them to sit with their feelings, accept them, and move forward. Don't forget about your own grief. At being mistreated, rejected, and having to bring loved ones painfully into awareness. Allow yourself space to grieve too. Remember, changing someone's thinking is only step one. We then have to organize to relieve each other of the burdens of capitalism, and build a new society in the shell of the old. If things are going right, we will be transitioning from individuals doing this work, to organizations facilitating it. From there, conversion will accelerate dramatically as our hegemony normalizes our values. Actions speak louder than any words. Many who were not convinced by mere sentiments will join us when we can express our beliefs in the streets. Revolutionary spaces are not a social club or a dating circle, but it is important that we keep this work human, which means recognizing that nobody is motivated purely by abstract political ideals. On top of normal considerations, we need our spaces to be interesting, social, and spiritual. For millions of years, our species lived and evolved among nature and community. We're not made for concrete jungles and metal boxes. Such things deprive us of our connection to nature and each other. They make us spiritually sick. We have to remember who we are. Apes who survived by looking out for each other. We sit around fires telling stories. We stare at the stars and dream. We connect best to what we can intuitively feel, senses designed for an environment much different than this. Many of us feel this alienation without knowing. It blocks our good senses. Our spaces should be a remedy to this ailment, by grounding our recruits in nature and community, and fostering a non-theistic understanding of self. As communists, we act as if the physical world is all there is. But we will fail if we neglect to fill the void of meaning left behind by religion and capitalist mythology. State and hero worship is not adequate. We must form our spirituality based on the organic hope and meaning that arises from being collectively present and vulnerable, with the birth of our delicate blossoming truth. Furthermore, we must facilitate a nurturing environment based on love and solidarity, and hold space for vulnerability and reconciliation, as most of our recruits will have come from mindlessly reactionary pasts. In each of them is an unrecognized better version of themselves, who can only be realized in the right environment. People need to be able to see the path to the future in our actions now. We must help our people to know themselves, to know their power, and to build a better life for themselves. A society built on compassion, care, and empathy, that organizes intelligently to provide freedom and well-being to all. Strict moralistic thinking is the enemy of communist development. We have only the imperfect and learning masses to channel to our ends. This doesn't mean mindlessly tolerating harmful rhetoric, only prioritizing growth over punishment. While I think there are better or worse ways to approach conversion work, I am not trying to downplay the legitimate emotions of those who end up lashing out at the people in their lives, or who run cancel mobs on social media. Their wild sadness, grief and anger only make sense, and this behavior, while unhelpful, is inevitable to some extent. People should understand this condition as a cry for help and direction, and a call to examine the aggrieved issues further. It is not enough to recruit new members. We must soothe our ailing socialist youth as well. If you yell at shitty people and abusers, my spirit is with you. I just want you to be able to have the skills that come with recovery. Skills of self-control, self-love, so that you can live without being reduced to uncontrollable rage when faced with the terrible realities of our world. I want you to be able to function again, to believe in yourself despite the oppressors, and join us on the front lines of struggle, converting those we can and organizing for what's to come.
After each ego death event, the new ego that arises is less brittle, more resilient. What will destroy the sixth iteration of a person, the first iteration could not have survived mere contemplation of. Eventually, the capacity to let someone be wrong on the internet emerges.
Sometimes my life feels unreal. Like I'm just watching someone else's life play out, or like I'm delayed in my participation in the moment, and can only reflect on what happened later. My mind was severely messed up by what happened to me. For you to show such care to someone like me, you must truly be someone special. I want to be more like you. Revolutionary work is not always glamorous. In fact, much of it is mundane and routine. For every frontliner we will need 12 supports behind the scenes. The main enemies of communism are ignorance and scale, and the ways power distorts consensus on reality. We must address concerns of nutrition, broken families, child marriage. We have to approach isolated communities, address their illiteracy and lack of education, and organize them to provide for each other, so they can learn their own power, and have time and energy to get involved. We are playing the long game here. Generations of educated people will need to educate further generations, so they can advance beyond the imaginative potential of the last. Only when we have addressed the material needs of the people, and achieved a consensus of intelligent communistic thought and habits, can we possibly have something resembling utopia. Until then, we must keep fascism at bay, by addressing its primary source, the antagonisms between those who own and those who work under liberal capitalism.
Italian gamer girls will be kick-ass moms, because they recognize the illegitimacy of the liberal capitalist state.
We must avoid the pitfalls of only liberating one kind of person. Prejudices against race, gender, or harmless social difference must be rooted out and replaced with common solidarity for all workers and oppressed.
When you start talking to friends or fam about racism and slowly start realizing they racist as fuck. According to my college degree, cisgender is a rare disease introduced by the White House, and the only cure is a death punch.
We must prepare the people to reject the parasitic liberal governance that enslaves them, to replace it with a living organism that is the decentralized democratic workers' control of all elements of society, an organization that can produce the means to care for all, and defend itself. With this we will protect a bubble of land on this earth, where humanity can develop and advance, while broadcasting our message of hope and peace to the other working people of the world. If you're able to do anything, I'm proud of you.
Bit late to the party, am I, guys?
Babadoo, what is that at the surface of your ear? Daddy darling, say no more. It is nothing but a wild moon.
Fate is an evil mistress, serving a plate. Her face is this, wordless, inescapable prisoners. I have a problem, you distanced. You are a call for the big machine, wiring it all in gasoline. I see you all have mastered greed. I can't recall the past 2 weeks, all fired up in flame. It's no liar, I'm to blame. I'm so wired I could fry. It's so pleasant, I'm a
I live a relatively privileged existence on this planet. As I wrote this script in comfort, there were people elsewhere, living uncertain and precarious lives of resistance off the grid, in forests and mountains, putting their lives on the line to weave and strike at the enemy. I speak of ideals and hypotheticals, while others live it in ways I don't understand. Everything we do comes from a great love for our people, and all of humanity. In the face of this perilous situation, you may find yourself asking, why have I been born onto this planet and tasked with this thankless and dangerous mission? Why should I dedicate my life to alienating people and being mistreated? If we fail, is there at least some God keeping score? A utopia after death? My child, these are all good questions. We are all passengers in this life together. We all feel around blindly in the dark for answers. On the surface, this world seems bereft of objective meaning, beauty, or justice, except for what we choose to make in it.
Sorry, Mom. I'm a nihilist. Life has no meaning, so I don't give a fuck what you think.
Kids, it doesn't matter whether you win or lose. Indeed, nothing matters.
Nothing matters, Yugi.
Then it doesn't matter that nothing matters.
There may very well be something after all this. I mean, the very fact that we exist to ponder it is absurd enough that anything is possible. Perhaps what we see in this life is only a percentage of the whole picture of what is really going on, a wider spiritual battle. Are we just too flawed to create anything better? Are we just doomed to suffering? Why does the enemy so resolutely defend a self-destructing world order? How can I do what is right without endangering my loved ones? Will my sacrifice mean anything? My child, I am alongside you in your confusion and grief. You were born, perfect and innocent, though you never asked for it. You grew, hopeful to be nourished by love and peace, instead slowly awakening to our collective nightmare. You've inherited the problems of a people long ago, a shared struggle from which there is no easy reprieve. You've been expected to be so strong, as existence crushes you more and more. You've been forced to scrounge for what little joy can be found in the cracks of the void. I see you, darling. This same force bites at me like a cold wind. I'm sorry I cannot protect you from it. What gives me hope, my child, is that we are out there, waiting for you. We won't recognize you at first, but soon enough we will. I know you will find us, that you will help all those you can, that you will find your meaning and purpose in the struggle, and you will write a beautiful story with your life, words that echo through the ages, providing shelter to countless others. When things get difficult, and you find it hard to go on, turn your mind to me. Your inappropriate mother, who only wears an apron around the house, hugging you a bit too long before dropping you off at gamer school. Take shelter in my softness, and the comfort of knowing that I am aware of your search history on the family computer but am not grounding you. My sweet baby. Are you okay? Feel free to snuggle up with me however you like. That's my good girl. It's strange. I'm tempted to say sorry, but I'm not even sure what for. Mommy is so burdened by guilt in doing this work. By the pain-stricken eyes of those I awake. In studying the dire state of the world, I am witness to countless tragedies I can do nothing about. In picking through the ruins of history for answers, I bear witness to our haunting song. Various pains and sadnesses flow over me, like waves, as I struggle to breathe in the phone. This I endure, as some kind of sick duty, so I can sculpt my soul in the image of truth. So I can become a living remedy to humanity's ailment. You feel it too, don't you, little one? The truth is, we must all carry part of this burden, if things are to ever get better. That is what makes it so difficult. Can we really get all of humanity on the same page about this? Will they accept this pain, so they can really live? Why should we have any noble fate or intention? We are just apes that evolved out of mud on a rock, after all. We have a social impulse, but it's tethered to our in-groups, and the selfishness of our limited perspectives. It seems only the truly desperate revolt. Success seems questionable in the face of modern surveillance and technological warfare, never mind our worst impulses. The path of revolution has always been of knowledge and spirit. It must become undeniable to the majority that this is our collective truth. We must all act together to force change on every level. But spirit alone is not sufficient. We must wield the tools of the oppressors with fervent might, so that this planet might one day know peace. Thank you for watching over me, my little shaman. One day, when I am no longer of this world, this work will be yours. And as you endure the hardships of this life, you will come to know me. This is our duty to our people. I am always with you. Well, that's it. I'm afraid Mommy has to go for now. You be good now, you hear? For $1 on my Patreon you can find out the truth about clothing. Hint hint. This video is a remake of an original version. One I made when, for all my knowledge, I was personally very miserable, lonely, and hadn't quite learned all my lessons yet. I'm glad to correct my mistakes, and I'm sorry to those I misled. Real shamans only. They fab rising.
Why don't you come down and tell the family about your conceptual art projects?